Yo guys, what is going on? Insanity coming back at you today with some more Division content, and all I can say is holy crap, the wait is finally over for all of you PlayStation fans. PlayStation 4 players can finally go hands-on with expansion number 2, Survival in the Division, and man, I know you guys hate waiting for that early access DLC thing to expire every single time a new expansion comes out, and hopefully when year 2 content rolls around, that deal is no longer in play and that everyone gets to enjoy the content at the same time, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out in 2017. Now, with that being said, Survival brings a whole new twist on the gameplay in the Division, and you're not going to be prepared for it. You're going to be just thinking, I'm going to jump right into this, I'm going to go to PvP, and I'm going to rule everything. Don't do that. Be smart. I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 5 tips on how to traverse the world in Survival, and be sure that you're able to make it all the way to the end with a successful extraction with the most loot possible. With that being said, let's just jump into it. Let's go. Alright guys, so for tip number 1, we're going to go ahead and go with the very basic idea of knowing where you are in the game world. The world of PvE is massive. Sure, it's not as big as other open world games we played in the past, but when you have a reduced HUD and all you can see is which way is north, that's all they give you while you're playing. The only way to kind of see the entire world map is to pull up the map yourself. And when you set a waypoint on that map, sure, it's going to put that little icon on your screen, but you do not get the little waypoint line to direct you on where you're going. So you have to try and fight the whiteout that you get from the blizzard, the PvE enemies that could be running around, and of course, if you're running PvP, which I highly recommend you shouldn't do, if you have no idea where in the world you're going, the last thing you want to do is try and get in PvP and get in gunfight engagements when you have no clue on where you're headed. Someone could be hanging out around a corner that you may not know exists. They could be hiding around a car, and there's a lot of people out there that just try and hang outside hideouts waiting for people to spawn outside and take them down. It's cheap, it's terrible, and it's toxic, but that's the world of PvP we all have to live in. So, know your maps, know your landmarks. If you know where safe houses are and you know where missions are and things like that, those are pretty good indicators that you're going to find some decent enemies and decent loot before trying to make your way into the dark zone to try and finish up and take down that hunter. So, just know where stuff is before really trying to make your way through the game world of Survival, alright? That's tip number 1. You're spawning in, you have the most basic gear possible every time you start out in Survival. They give you a pistol, and you have really crappy gear all over your body, from your knee pads to your chest piece, backpack, and so on. You need to really pay attention to everything that drops on the ground, okay? You're trying to deal with the temperatures, so you have to be looking out for vanity items. Anytime that you ever find a set of cosmetics, and they have the green up arrow showcasing, yes, this is going to help you, press Y or triangle if you're using a controller, and equip those things immediately to help you withstand the cold weather outside so you can resist, trying to freeze to death a lot longer. The next thing is whenever you see gear pieces fall, immediately see if you're able to utilize it in the best way. I highly recommend going with toughness first over anything else. Toughness and DPS. Skill power is okay to mess with, but if you really want to try and mess with that kind of stuff, do gear mods later on. But solely work on toughness and DPS second. Make them pretty close, but always try and make yourself as high in toughness as you possibly can in Survival, as fast as you can. Because the enemies are harsh, they're mean, and they take you down really, really quick. So, whenever you find something, put that best thing on and instantly deconstruct that other item. You need materials to craft better things in order to try and get in the dark zone to create that virus filter. When you're in the dark zone, to create that flare gun in order to extract. It is extremely important to do this with all of your items, no matter if it's a gear piece, a weapon, or anything else that you think you may not need. Deconstruct to better yourself at all times. Survival. I know that sounds corny, but trust me, the moment you have an opportunity to make your way over to a landmark and you have 2 decent weapons that you can swap back and forth from to take the enemies down, you're pretty much going to run into veteran enemies. You may run into 1 elite at a landmark, but don't worry about it. If you have 2 decent weapons, preferably an AK and maybe like a SMG, a really fast SMG or an LMG, you should be just fine. Pick up any purple superior items and instantly deconstruct anything else in that category that you find. The other main thing that I want to make sure that you know that's extremely important, it stays true for PvE, PvP, and now survival. The moment you have an opportunity to make your way over to a hideout that's next to one of the entrances of the Dark Zone in survival, craft the superior LVOA-C. The LVOA is the most beast weapon in this game, and that stands true in this game mode. You will need it when you get into the Dark Zone, because you're going to throw something else on it when you get to a hideout when you craft that flare gun on the inside. So with that being said, pick up those superior items, deconstruct everything else, and craft that LVOA as fast as you can. Tip number 4. What in the world do I need to craft once I'm inside the Dark Zone? First things first, yes, you're going to need to craft that flare gun, but you'll be able to get it once you make your way over and find the antivirus that's somewhere in the world of the Dark Zone. They randomly put it somewhere once you arrive in the DZ. It could be in DZ 5 and 6, or it could be much lower, depending on where they decide to randomly put it. It's random every time. Don't think it's going to be in the same spot. So, when you have an opportunity and you take down a couple of enemies, you may notice that you're going to see a lot more yellow elites, unlike you found outside the DZ. Mostly you're going to find veterans outside, but inside you're going to find a lot of elites and named enemies because they want you to take these enemies down. You're going to find caches, survival caches, gear caches, weapon caches. There's stuff everywhere. Yes, you can only extract with 6 extra caches on your back in the pouch, but it's worth it. Head on over to a hideout whenever you get inside, craft yourself that high velocity magazine. Throw that sucker on an LVOA. If you have an opportunity to get like a G36, a purple as well, do that, throw a high velocity mag on that. You will have 2 guns that pack one hell of a punch, and not many enemies are going to be able to withstand that. Now, what else do you need to create? This is important. You need pulse. You need a turret. You need seeker mines. Depending on your playstyle, you're going to need them when you're taking on mobs of enemies in the streets and in buildings because they flank, they're fast, and they pack a huge punch when they shoot you. You still don't have that amount of toughness that you would have in the world of PvE because you have like 450,000 toughness, right? In this, you're lucky to have 100 and 130,000 depending on how you build your character. Get yourself those seeker mines, the turret, and pulse. Know where your enemies are and be able to use those other abilities to take them down without them killing you first. Not to mention, they're going to become one hell of a great use once you make your way to the next part. And that's when we roll into the last and final tip. Tip number 5. How to take down the hunter fast and efficiently. First of all, the hunter is unlike any other enemy in this game. They use a lot of abilities and skills that agents currently have. They can hack your stuff. They have healing abilities. These guys are amazing and awesome and extremely unique, and they need to come to the original game and be outside of survival. It'd be great if they add them to the original game. But these guys, they can kill you in one hit. Do not get close to them. One melee hit, you're down. They will kill you with their tomahawk, and it looks awesome. Beyond that, you need to try and use that pulse so you know where he's at. Or if you decide not to use the pulse, throw a turret out so that he's focusing on that turret instead of you. Run up to him. He's actually pretty squishy. If you can load in an entire clip from your LVOA, swap to your G36, and just unload that second clip, he will go down extremely fast. But here's the kicker. If you kill that hunter before the first 60 seconds that it's there, you will take on a second hunter before that chopper arrives for extraction. Fair warning. I've run into that mistake many, many times where I've taken the first hunter down, I felt like a king, I was like, yeah, I did it, this is awesome. And then a second hunter shows up, I start fighting him, I'm doing fine, but that's not the problem. You're in the Dark Zone now. It doesn't matter if you're playing PvE or PvP. It's all PvP now. So what a lot of people will do is they'll purposely wait until you're fighting the hunter, then they'll shoot at you to gank you of all your caches, take down the hunter, and extract on your behalf. It's completely stupid. It's happened to me multiple times on stream. It's just the way it is. Welcome to the world of survival. Hopefully my few tips help you traverse the world and make you better at survival over time. Yes, I'm not the best player at it, but you know what? I do know my stuff. I've played it enough to know how these enemies work. I'm Insanity. Like if you haven't, sub if you're new, and I'll catch you again in the next one, guys. Peace out.